Okay, okay. Give me a second to open the thing. Okay, so this is your Celestial, which I just watched. I don't think you'll be able to hear it. I need to just mute it because you don't really need to hear it. Okay, so the start of it, this is fine. I think this is like all you really can do. I would use Divinity when he gets down to this bottom left area because this is where you like can't reach him. That's like the micro thing off the start. So the start here is like fine. Um, oh right, yeah. For some reason my okay. Let's do this. It'll be smaller, but it's like it has to be done. Okay. So let me grab my tablet thing. Okay, so right. That's not it. This. No, that's not it. This one. Yes. Okay. So when you're doing this, firstly, I would recommend offsetting your camera because basically this whole part of the circle you don't really have to use, right? So you instead of like having this much space down at the bottom where you can't like you don't need it, right? I mean, technically you need it here, but you don't really need it there because it's consistent, right? Then you can just get like this much more up here, right? That's like pretty useful information to know. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that you have the right idea, right? So where you sort of like this is the first pass, and as he's coming back around, you wanted to push in, right? So this is good. Um, but something that is more useful, which I don't have one on, um, a melee class. I haven't done one recently, but I do have a recording somewhere of a run that I did with my friend. We duoed. Here it is. I think this. No, I should go to the first one. Actually, I don't know. I think the first one wasn't as clean, right? So you do your full rotate, right? And then afterwards, you push in, but you go more left. Um, yeah, this one wasn't as great, but the immediate one in the same run, I think was better. Cause I think I just woke up after or for this one. Right, so you do your full rotate, and then you go left, like into the section, and then as you keep going past, you sort of like keep pushing into the section, um, and then you push in and you have fun. Uh, the pushing in at the end is actually like you can get really close. Like here, it's like I'm kind of close enough for my flames to do damage, but it's that okay. So right, so looking at that and then going back to this one, um, right. So here it's like there's that, and then when you push in, you sort of like get pressured out of this position, right? And then it's like, oh, you just got like a few hits. Um, it's safer than you think. Like, don't be that afraid of trying things. Um, because like, oh, so importantly, hold on. Let me go back to the other example. Importantly, right, is when oh my god, that was so good. Okay, so when you push through, right? So initially if you're trying to survive O3, you want to look for like the cones, right? Let's say like take the shots and then just make it a big line, and then suddenly that gives you like a cone to work with. Um, so when you start to go for damage, it doesn't become a cone anymore, but then it becomes the individual shots. So when you're learning things, um, the way you go about it is to learn it at a very macro level, right? Like get the big picture, right? So this is why, like, instead of looking at each shot as individual shots, you look at them as lines, right? Here's like a line here, here, right here. You know, you look for all the lines, you look for the big macro level things, and then as you want to get more refined in the very specific areas, you have to start looking at things at the micro level, right? So now this doesn't become a line that you can't go through. It becomes shots that create a line that you can go through, right? So here in this situation, right, we have the celestial, and we keep going. What ends up happening is that I go through these shots here, right? So I'm not like looking at the shots as like barriers, right? They're not making barriers. I'm just going through them, right? So as you sort of see how they go through, that should sort of guide you to where you need to go. But this takes like remember if you saw the eye tracking video, which I think you did, because this is a this is more of a central thing to go along with this that video. So I'm assuming that's why you're asking now. But if you keep your eyes in this area, right, you can sort of see what's going on. Actually, I can just go to the eye tracking video. Hold on. Hold on. It's on the Mystic. Yeah. So right. So basically, right. So when you're sort of going to do this, you want to have your eyes in an area where you can like see shots. So as you sort of look at this one, notice how my eyes are looking for those gaps, right? So like it's just depending on where the shots are coming from, right? And I sort of like fuck it up a little bit here, but it's like the same thing where it's like I'm just looking for the gaps first. I think I have another one. Yeah. So this is another one that I had done. Right. So my eyes are like between the character and the shots that are going on, right? But they are looking for those gaps, right? So that I'm like I can move with confidence, sort of thing. Like it's not unknown. Like I'm not going into an area where I don't actually know what is there to begin with. And then you can, just push it like that. But in regards to your weapons, that's sort of just a skill of being able to move your mouse, like just being able to move your mouse like in front of things. Eventually, it becomes muscle memory, right? So like if I'm moving left, and the dude is still moving right, I have to speed up my mouse. Whereas if he's like standing still and I'm moving left, I still have to move my mouse right, just not as much. But if he's moving right, then it's like, oh, it's just like increase the speed of your mouse and stuff like that. But the idea is basically when Oryx is not next to you, use the freedom or use the lack of shots as freedom to move in the middle, I guess is the best way that I can say that, right? So like when Oryx gets close here, right? When Oryx gets close, there's a lot of shots, right? There's like a ton of shots here. So you can't like sustainably stay in that much. But then like as soon as he's gone, right? There's so like few shots that are actually going on. So use the the lack of shots to go in basically here. And then this is like this sort of fear factor coming in. But yeah, just sort of see how like about here, he is not on your screen, but if you were offset, you probably could see him. Because basically your character would be about here instead, so you still have this much space in, whereas like if we take that space, add it up here, right? That sort of covers. Like if you look at where Oryx is right now on the map, he's like at the top of the circle, slightly left of it. So he'd be here, which would probably like you'd be able to have more reaction time, is what I'm saying, for like the shots that are going on, and even just like a like a sixth of a second, that will give you so much more ability to react to things more consistently. Because right now it's like you see how he like wasn't on your screen for that amount, like a long amount of time, but now you suddenly have like two bursts of shots like right here, or three bursts of shots heading straight to your face. It's like this happens less like less spontaneously if you see him further, right? And then like even then you got hit by it, right? It's like, oh, that's like it's kind of fucked, but at the same time it's like that's sort of like just because you don't have screen or like the offset. And then for the last bit, I've tried both ways going, like if we think about this as a line, right, where Orcs is exiting. This is his last shot. He over rotates a little bit and then goes to the middle. I've tried both being above and then being below this line, and I would recommend being below the line, mostly because of this pet stasis portal and the fact that this area is going to be a little bit more dense with shots because of how, like, where he shot from. um I just like typically a gap opens up here, and because it's the last one that Orc shot, typically you won't actually have to dodge more than one. Like, you know how to learn Celestial, I'm like, oh yeah, you should look at the cones, right? So like if there was another shot here, right, you look at the cones, find the section where both of them are safe, and then you go to that safe spot. Well, here he doesn't shoot one later on, so this is just the safe spot. So typically, I would recommend just going below this like little line where he exits, and then that way you can actually walk into the middle a bit more freely. So there's that. So okay, so recap, right? This one is a little bit fine. The only thing or like this section I could only really suggest is you switch to Divinity a little bit sooner, because at the bottom left, if you're melee, you can't actually reach him unless you have a 4 range. Just not a tiered sword range. And then as we go further, this is fine. But then the first rotation, or first rotation back, is where I see room for improvement, where use the ability to walk through these shots, right, to get position over here. And then when he's like coming back, you can like when he gets over here and rotating, you can then like sort of walk this way into the next safe spot and lead your shots going ahead. So go left there, right? Instead of like get scared by them and then like kind of shift around and idle in the same position. And then here, you'll find if you try to do the section thing, like go into the section, specifically for the second one, you'll get cut off by this part of it. So you'll have to like dip out and then go around again. So the first one is immediately like get back into the rotation. Second one, wait for the gap, take the gap, and then go back in. More on that. There was a video that I posted on the Patreon about optimizing the full rotate a little bit more. I think that could be helpful here. Just as like added resources, but that's sort of just like the gist. And then the third one is like fine, where you can just go back in, because then he ends up on the left side anyways. And then so it's just like go into the section, and then this last bit is just end up below the line, which allows you to push in further. Hey, look, you offset. But yeah, and then there is just, you know, just wail on him. So that's what I would recommend for Celestial, just by itself. And I hope you find this useful.